Hey everybody! Today on Rahdo Runs Through, I'm going to tell you about the best games of 2023, and it's going to be my final countdown. And what do I mean by that? Well, every year, as a Christmas present for all the folks who watch the channel, I put up a preliminary list of the best games that I had played that year. And I always promise that by the middle of the next year, I will have played all the games I need to play, and so I will do an update. And that's what I'm doing right now. It was actually on Christmas Day 2023 that I did a walking tour of the town square of San Ignacio in Baja, Mexico, and told everybody the 30 best games of the year at that point. And it was a great time. I'm afraid I'm not out and about right now. You're just going to have to make do with a bunch of pretty box covers in the background instead of a really neat background there. But we are now, what is it? It's August. I'm a little late. Normally I like to get this done by June or July. But it's finally time to update and give you my final list. And I've got 10 more games to talk about. I talked about 30 right there. You're seeing me as I walk around, and 10 of the games I talked about have been pushed out by 10 different ones. And so this is going to be a countdown, and I'm really only going to focus on the new stuff that's on the list. And I'll just kind of skip over the ones that I already talked about when I did this video, whatever it was, 7.5 months ago. So that's what we're going to hear to do today, folks. And by the way, if you want to see this original video and hear about 20 or actually 30 other games that I will go into depth on, well, there's going to be a link for my original one down in the show notes, or you can hit the I in the top right corner of the screen, or at the end of this video, there'll be a big button on screen you can press so you can go watch more. Does that all sound good? Okay, if so, I think we are ready to go. Let's see, yep, I've got my list queued up. So let's get going with my new number 30 best game of the year. And this is brand new. I have not talked about this back in December. Number 30 on my final countdown list is Aiye or Aiye or Aiye. I have no idea how to pronounce this game. The publisher, Grok Games, did not bother to put a pronunciation, and even Portuguese speakers. I've watched some Portuguese channels, as I've recall correctly. This is a Brazilian published game. They don't know how to pronounce it either. Everybody's guessing, so I'll just spell it. Aiye with accents over the A and the E. Anyway, regardless of how you say it, this game is phenomenal. I really liked it a lot, as did my wife Jen. Let's see if right now I'm putting all that stuff up there. You can pause and see the stats of it. Here's some more stuff about it, including the description. What I just want to say is it is a very sharp, very pretty, fast-playing Mancala game. And I love Mancala games. If you're looking at this right now, I know some people are listening to this rather than watching. Right there at the bottom, this is my Mancala. It's a row of stacks of cards that have different powers on them. And on my turn, I'm going to grab all the chips below one of these columns and start dropping them off, going there is no clockwise because it's not round, but dropping them off to the right. Like if I picked up these two yellows and dropped one and then dropped the second one would be where I stopped dropping, and I would activate this middle column, which has 3 special powers on it. And then you would do the same thing. And this is standard Mancala stuff. But what really makes this game stand out, aside from the really awesome presentation, is your Mancala is incredibly dynamic. You can collapse different columns into each other, so you have fewer columns and they are bigger and more powerful. Over time, you spread them out by adding new columns that are smaller and weaker, like in this picture. The one on the far right is probably a brand new one that's been added because it would only do a single action, so you need to collapse it into other ones. But the tricky thing is, you can get more cards that have more powers and add them to your Mancala, but to pay for those cards, you've got to give up the chips that let you activate your Mancala. So, this is a game full of really tricky and puzzly compromises as you try to figure out how best to balance everything going on. And then on top of that, like I said, it's a stunning looking game, really, really sharp with a lot of variety, a lot of different cards. Jen and I both liked it a lot. And here's hoping, folks, that at some point, some bigger worldwide publisher gets the memo and contacts Grok Games, because everybody, if you like Moncalas or if you just like nice, puzzly, beautiful Euros, you'll want to check out my number 30 best game of 2023. Aiye, I don't know how to say it. Anyway, okay. So that was number 30. Now I've got 4 that I talked about in the previous video, so we're just gonna skip over. Hey, there was a How, Rulers of the Yucatan. You can watch my previous video. You'll hear me talk about it. There's Forbidden Jungle. There's the Printing Press, and there's House of Cats. That was number 29, 28, 27, and 26. Now, time for a new one. Number 25 on the list is Delta. And this breaks my heart. I didn't even think about this as I was putting it on the list, but it's from Game Brewer. And sadly, just a few weeks ago, Game Brewer closed down and went out of business. So Delta, their best design to date, in my experience, having played a bunch of their games, is also one of their last ones, very, very sadly. So if you see a chance to pick this game up, folks, grab it, because it won't be around very long. And it is absolutely phenomenal. What is it about? Well, I actually have done a full run through of this game. Maybe I shouldn't show images. Maybe I should just go to the videos and find my video of it. There I am. Here I am. Let's see, go on ahead and start up there. There we go. Okay, so this is a worker placement game, although it's also a deck builder of sorts, because you have a deck of cards, and on your turn, you've got a handful. You're going to pick one of the cards from your hand and play it to one of the different worker placement slots below the main board. And where you place that card is a very, very important decision. Because, first of all, each of these cards, they're multi-use cards. They do different things. They have different strengths and weaknesses. And depending on which section of the board you are going to place that card, the card will literally do different things, because they're multi-talented individuals that you're either deploying into your laboratory or into the field to do studies or whatever it might be. So the worker placement is very interesting, because you're doing deck building, getting more and more cards over the course of the game and trying to figure out how best to deploy them. But where the game really comes alive is after a round is done and the cards have all been played and they've all been activated and you've resolved things based on choices you've made, those cards are going to not just go into a discard pile, but go into one of several discard piles. And other cards that have been waiting in a queue to come back to you will come back at that point. And so long-term hand management of multiple discard piles, you can see them down there at the bottom of the screen, is a huge part of this game that really elevates it to the next level. Delta is absolutely phenomenal. Jen and I fell in love with it when we first played it in prototype form, which is what I'm showing you here. And I was pretty confident it would rate pretty highly for me, but at the time I'd only played a prototype and I had not played the final version. Since Jen and I got back from Mexico, I did get a chance to play the final version, and if we no longer have Game Brewer, which again is heartbreaking because they put out so many amazing games over the years, but if this was one of the last things we got from them, it's not the last, there's a few more out there, well, they went out on an incredible high note because Delta is phenomenal. It's the 25th best game of 2023. Okay, then we go on to number 24, another one that I had not talked about in the original. It is Zhanguo, the First Empire. And now one thing I should say, and I mentioned this in my previous 2023 video, is when I'm making these best ofs, I always leave expansions off the board, and I always leave like 2.0. Hey, look, we brought a game back from 10 years ago and made it really pretty. Isn't that awesome? I always tend to leave those off because I'm always trying to show new stuff. So you might be saying, well, why is Zhanguo, which is a remake, a re-implementation, Zhanguo the First Empire is a remake of a previous game, another one from a sadly now defunct out of business company, What's Your Game? Why did I bring this one on the list? Because this is more than just a facelift. Zhanguo First Empire, and you can check out my run through. There's a link for it down in the show notes. There's a link for everything down in the show notes. Let me go on ahead and find my video for it too. Although, wait a minute, before I do that, I'll just go on ahead, and if you want to read more about the stats and, the different mechanisms and whatnot, or the description, there it all is. You can pause. But now, let me go find my video of it. There we are. Right. Oh, shoot. I have not done a full run through of it because, of course, I had already done a run through of the original Zhanguo. Oh, my goodness. That's embarrassing. Well, anyway, I'll just leave myself talking about it there. So Zhanguo is another heavy, super crunchy Euro, and the crux of it is about building the Great Wall of China. And every turn, you're going to play a card that determines your initiative, but the high-low... You know what? There's a link for this video I'm over here talking about. I don't want to take all day on this. I mean, when I did this back in December, this took me over an hour. I'm going to try and get through this pretty quick. This is Zhanguo. The main, all the core gameplay is there, but in-game scoring or objective scoring has radically changed. Radically, come up with a new system that is significantly better. All about building the terracotta army. Plus, there is a whole new, side mechanism about going on this epic ship journey and recruiting new people in addition to the regional governors and the generals and whatnot. Now you also recruit alchemists who help you with this journey. So, I would say the game has changed a good 30%. This is a much bigger, reinvention of the game than what you normally see, on these kinds of games. And that must be people making their own. Boy, I wish I'd made a video of this now because all there is on Board Game Geek is pictures of people putting their dog pictures on it. The game does not have dog cards, although I gotta admit that would be pretty cool. All right. Anyway, though, Zhanguo was always a phenomenal game. Back when Jen and I played it, 7-8 years ago, back when we were still living in Malta, it was a little bit too heavy for us. And while the core mechanisms of the game are still here, overall, it plays so much more smoothly. Come on, Board Game Geek, are you even going to put this video up? No, these are all terrible pictures. Where are the pictures that make the game look good? No offense to whoever took those pictures. Where are the ones from the publisher? Oy. Why is this so difficult? All right. Wow, there just aren't very many. I guess that's why I only showed one picture when I did the video of it. I'll just go back to that. Here's the picture of it in situ. As you are, building up more strength, there's kind of an engine building thing going on where you get better and better at certain actions. You want to keep doing them. You've got area majority stuff. You've got engine building stuff. You've got initiative stuff. And with the new changes to the game, which again, I talked about in the video that you can follow the links down in the show notes, it is so great. It's the original one we did not keep. It was a bit too crunchy. Jen found it a bit too frustrating. Now it just plays like silk. It's so smooth, and we really enjoy it a lot. So much so that I think it was a big enough change. It's a different game. It is not just more of the same, and it is phenomenal. It is number 24 for us of the year, Zhanguo: The First Empire. Then we've got 23, Apiary. I already talked about that in the earlier video, but then we've got a new one, 22, Comet. And now this is a smaller game from Peter Prinz, an old school board game designer. You're responsible for some real classics like Thebes and whatnot. And he made a big comeback with Comet in 2023. And sadly, nobody seemed to notice, even though Jen and I really dug this game in a big, big way. It is, set in prehistoric times, well before humanity was around. And it imagines a situation where the asteroid is going to strike. It's going to, do huge damage, wipe out tons of species. And what we're trying to do is get as many species as possible to safety in the cave so they'll be able to survive the aftermath. And we do this by playing multi-use cards that say how far we can move and also what special actions we can do. And once we've actually gotten a given animal species to safety, we take the card for them and add that to our overall abilities that we can do. So over the course of the game, things just start speeding up as we save more animals, and things just go faster and faster because we have more and more cool special powers. So that's all really nice. The other thing that's really interesting about it too is It's kind of a game of checkers, because one of the big things you're trying to do is if you need to move into a space where another animal is that either you or somebody else is trying to direct to safety, you get to hopscotch over them. And in fact, if you can set things up so you have several enemies, you can hopscotch over a huge line of them. So what you're always trying to do is set up a really great fast track for yourself. But if you see some other player moving some of their animals into your neighborhood, you've got to break that group up so that hopefully you got some use out of it, but your opponents won't. It's really clever. There's a lot of variety with all the cool different special powers, and every time you play, the animal cards are going to come out in an unpredictable way, so you're never sure, what powers you're going to be earning. And it's just fast. It's fun. There are very few. I mean, this is effectively a race game. We're trying to race all these animals to safety, and there are very few race games that Jen and I tend to keep. But it's the fact that once you rescue these animals, that you build up these powers, and if you rescue more, the powers start to compound, and you get more and more powerful, and you can save more and more. It's that perfect approach to game design, where as the game goes on, things speed up and rush closer and closer to the big finale. And I think it's really should have gotten a lot more attention than it did. I might be the only person who put it on a top games of the year list. I'll have to go check the reviewer meta list and see if anybody else caught on to just how fantastic number 22 of the year was, Comet. Then we'll go on to another new one. 21 is Mindspace. From publisher All Play. I do not know the designer, but I'm telling you right now, folks, this is a fantastic roll and write. One of my favorite roll and writes I have played in a long time. It's basically about laying polyominoes out to represent filling our brain with different memories and emotions. So that's the subject matter I already love. Yeah, it's strictly speaking, it's an abstract Tetris tile laying game where we're actually using different colored pins to, color in the different shapes to fill in all the different regions of the brain. And you're racing in different ways to score the different areas or get areas that have certain colors in them. Each of the different colors, which again represents a different memory or emotion, has different ways of scoring or different special powers it gives you or different ways of interacting with other sections. So it's a really compelling game. But it's not the writing that makes this so interesting. Like I said, it's not a roll and write, it's a random and write. There's some random element that tells you what it is you can write. The randomness is shown right here in this picture from The Innocent, and it does a pretty good job of giving you an idea. Basically, you've got a row of different shapes, right? And these are the different shapes that you might want to color in to, again, do the tile laying stuff that we're trying to do. This is a better picture, actually, from Moonarium board game. Thank you. I might want to make that T because that's going to fit perfectly with the space I have. Or, just a little smaller T from original Tetris size or the really long one, whatever. Basically, you've got this row of all the different shapes you could put in. At the beginning of a round, you roll all the colored dice. And then, if in this particular picture, if you rolled a 1, it would go here because this is in the 1 spot. In this case, you rolled an orange and a green 3. So they both went on this one. And the 5 went here. And the 6s went over there into the dump pile, basically. And so you're going to pick one of those dice. So you are rolling. The rolling is telling you which shape you can drop into the brain and what color it's going to be, and therefore what special power you're going to activate or what type of scoring methodology you're going to use. And this is awesome. Now, that's just awesome in and of itself. You might say, oh, that's fine. Oh, there's just these shapes and you roll and you do that. But there's another cool thing about it as well. After everybody's chosen one, the rightmost shape, that was your last chance to do it. It was in the number 5 slot. It goes into the dump pile. It's gone. All the other ones, in a conveyor belt kind of way, shuffle over to the right, and then a new shape comes out, and then you re-roll the dice. And that creates this conveyor belt. The more I think about this, the more I'm confident. Conveyor belts are my favorite board game mechanism, period. Because they give you so much cool, fun tension as you are desperate to do a given thing, but you're waiting for it to be in the right place at the right time. But time is running out. It's about to disappear. Should you use it with the wrong color? Or should you, It's not the right shape and color, but this other shape is okay for this color. How am I going to do that? It's absolutely brilliant. It's so much fun. It's very, very fast, very quick. Every time you set up and play, if I go back to the other picture, you're going to get a different collection of special powers that are going to affect this particular game. And so every game's going to play very differently too. I don't think it got a lot of attention, and that's a real shame because, like I said, this is one of the best roll and writes I have ever played. And it was one of the best games of 2023. It's number 21. Mindspace. Now, let's go on to a few that we already talked about last time. Number 20 is Sky Team. Number 19 is Humanity. Number 18, Far Away. Number 17, Point City. Number 16, Rauha. Another one that they won't bother explaining how to pronounce. This one's getting an expansion coming very soon, folks. I'm very excited about that. And then number 15, come on, Board Game Geek, Wild Tiled West. Again, I talked about all those in the previous video. Now, let's move on to another new one. Number 14 on the list, Vienna, from publisher Queen Games. And this is the second time that I have broken my long, strongly stuck to rule of not revisiting 2.0s and putting them on these lists because I want them to be about new stuff. Vienna, from designer Stefan Feld, my favorite designer of all time, is a remake of a game he put out many, many years ago called La Isla. And La Isla was always, it's never the biggest, most popular of Feld's designs. It's actually one of his more lightweight gateway ones. I'd always had a soft spot in my heart, and I've always enjoyed it. Well, anyway, publisher Queen Games has republished it, given it a new setting. Now it's no longer on a little island where you are studying wild, native species to the island and, on a scientific thing. Now we're in Cold War era Vienna. And we're basically spies moving around trying to collect intelligence rather than study wild animals. And it's the same core gameplay of really brilliant multi-use. I'm pretty sure I did a run through for this tonight. There it is right there. So let me go ahead and put my video up. Of multi-use cards where every turn you are going to take your hand of cards. You're going to take one card and put them in each of 3 different slots. So one card is going to tell you where, every time I think about it, I should have reminded myself of what they do. But each of the cards, if I could just show a picture of a card, why am I not showing a picture of a card? Show the cards. Why are you not showing the cards? There we go. There's a picture of a card. Okay. So, fine. So one card is going to tell you, it used to be, I forget, it used to be research materials. Now it is bribery materials that you use to get into the local embassies and whatnot. One is going to tell you a bribery material you're going to get. One is going to increase the value of the different types of intelligence. And one is going to give you a special power. Or in this case, a special scoring ability or whatever it might be. So you have a handful of cards and you're going to have to pick one to be, hey, what do I harvest? What do I increase the value of? And what special power am I going to do? And you've got to figure out of these 3 cards, although you can upgrade and have more cards to play, how am I going to lay these out? And every turn, this is an incredibly agonizing decision. I'm trying to figure out which ones go into which slot. And then once everybody chooses, we activate them all. We send our agents out into the field, not to study the animals, but instead to retrieve, secret intelligence and score points. And it's brilliant. And now, here's the interesting thing about this. This game can be played with rules that are almost the exact same thing as the original Isla. And if that was all that was in the box, I would not have included it. It wouldn't have just been, oh, cool, a new theme and all that. I'll put it back on the list. But there is now an advanced mode of play. And this advanced mode of play really ratchets up the depth and complexity and takes this from being a little family-friendly gateway or maybe gateway plus game into something more in the realm of, Stefan Feld's Merlin or something like that. A much richer, more complex game because now you've got income that you're trying to maintain so you can invest into upgrades into your spy agency or pay the salaries of your spies and a bunch of other things. Not just a few little changes, but significant changes that radically overhaul the game. And if you play with the advanced mode, well, first of all, I could never go back to the family mode, but I think people who think, oh yeah, I already played Lisa. Oh they put in a couple little extra things, no big deal. I kind of know what to expect. But like, what was it, number 24, these changes so radically upgrade the game. You just can't call it, oh, it's the same old thing. The experience you get is now hugely different and hugely improved. And, Stefan Feld is still my favorite designer, and this has now knocked, La Isla is now no longer on my list of greatest Feld games of all time, but Vienna has taken its place, and it's jumped up quite a bit into my top 10 favorite Felds now, which La Isla did not hold that state. So it's such a huge jump. It's absolutely fantastic, and it's number 14 of the year. Vienna. Okay, now I got a couple more things we talked about last time. Number 13 is Nemalia. Number 12 is Barcelona. Okay, and my apologies to Barcelona. I know you were in my top 10 before, but you've gotten kicked out very unceremoniously. And so Nemalia was, I think, in my top 10 when I did this earlier. So there went my number 10 and 9, but I've got a new one to talk about. Although it's at number 11 on the list, it is Arborea. From the same designer, Danny Garcia, as my new number 12, Barcelona. Barcelona used to be in the top 10, now it's number 12. Arborea comes in at number 11, and it just cements Danny Garcia as a design Wunderkind superstar that everybody should be watching. Let me go find my video of it again. It should be in here someplace. There it is. And this is a worker placement game of sorts. We are vying to become the new forest spirit, and we are sending, what are they, sages or pilgrims or something? I forget the exact term. We're sending our little helpers out into the world to do different actions, to harvest resources and fulfill objectives and all the kind of Euro-y stuff you want to do. The interesting thing is, when we put one of our little helpers out into the world, they kind of go on this surfboard, for lack of a better term. And multiple workers, my workers and your workers, can go on all the different spots of these surfboards. And after everybody's done with their worker placement for the round, these little surfboards are going to slide along. It's kind of like we're going for a ride. It's like we're all sharing an Uber or a Lyft or something, or a taxi. And as these things slide along, our workers can jump off whenever we feel like, and then activate a chain of actions depending on where they got off. And the interesting thing is, the more workers there are on these vehicles that we ride on, basically, the faster they go. If I'm just there by myself, it might take several rounds before this slow-moving thing will get into the position where I need it to go so I can jump off and then activate all the different things I want to activate. But if you jump on, hey, maybe you're jumping on because you know I'm already there, and that'll make both of us go faster. This is a lot of fun. It's another twist on time manipulation games, like going all the way back to Zolk and the Mayan calendar, where time, the passage of time, is an incredibly important mechanism or component to the gameplay that you are trying to manipulate. Just like sheep and lumber and stone in a different game, here the number one resource we concern ourselves with is time and the passage of time, so we can make our workers more powerful. And it's fantastic. It's gorgeous, bright, and colorful, and Jen and I really liked it a lot. It didn't quite make the top 10 of the year, but it's still absolutely fantastic. Number 11, Arborea. Now, folks, we're getting into the 10 best, the top 10 games of the year. Starting with number 10, hey, it's Rebuilding Seattle. This was already on the list before, so I've already talked about it. Number 9, it was also on the list. Archaeos Society. More people should be talking about this game. It's fantastic. These are all fantastic. This is the 10 best of the year we're talking about now. Number 8 is Evacuation from Vladimir Suchi. Number 7 is The White Castle. Now, this made a lot of people's list. For a lot of people, it was the game of the year. I thought it was fantastic too, but it only came in at number 7. Now, in number 6, we've got a new one that I did not talk about last time. It is Globetrotting. And this is another roll and write. So 2023 was a good year for roll and write fans. But what's interesting about this is we are trying to plan our travel. First of all, let me give you all the info about it. You can pause and read that if you want, but then we're going to go to the video, and there's my video of it. We're not drawing on whiteboards or pieces of paper or anything. We're drawing on actual globes, trying to plot out 3 different trips around the world that we're trying to plan. One for summer, one for autumn, one for, was it winter or spring? No, one for spring. And we're doing this every round. Oh man, you know what? Hold on a second. The cool factor of this game is off the chart. I just need to show you. Hold on. All right, here it is. It actually comes in, this cool little, it's like a suitcase, right? With all the stickers from wherever you've been to. It's got a little carrying case and all that. So everything about this game, fun factor, is fantastic. But if you open it up, what do you get? You got the rules. You got, I didn't actually intend to do an unboxing when I started out today, but I'm getting kind of carried away. So you take the little frame that one of these globes sits in, right? And everybody gets their own globe. Just get the rest of the frames out of the way. Oh, we gotta put this thing on here. So game does have a little bit, some assembly required to get it going, but it's not too bad. Right? So I've got this holder for my globe. And now, to make all these player globes fit, they all get taken apart. And I just figured I'd mention this because I've seen some people complain that these globes are impossible to put together and it's incredibly frustrating. And they think, oh, I can never use the cool box because once I put them together, I never want to take them apart because they're so hard to put together. I don't get that myself. To me, they go together really easy. You just got to get them all lined up on both sides. And you have to kind of just reach around all the way around to make sure the one, fits into the other because there's like a male and a female half, and boom, they just snap together. Just so incredibly easy. And then, I've got this cool thing where, we're going to start our trip in Chicago. Where's a pen? And what you're doing every round is you are drafting a new location, saying that, this is where our vacation starts, and I've chosen, the next space will be in, because I drafted it, it'll be, way far away over here in Bora Bora, right? So now what I take, I've got this first a second, it's hard for me to do it when I can't see, but let's see if right, so if I put them both here like this, so that they're lined up on this globe standee, right? I'm just trying to rotate around so you can see it. I can't see what I'm doing now. But basically, you just draw like this, and you have just shown the first leg of your trip. And you just keep doing this, trying to plot 3 different trips throughout the northern and southern hemisphere, all over the world, trying to complete a bunch of different objectives that are going to be set up every single time. And it's wonderful. Jen and I both love this to pieces. We have played it with other people. Anytime anybody sees this, the toy factor is just off the chart. And don't believe people when they say these are incredibly hard to put together. I don't know. Maybe I'm lucky. To be fair, I have really big hands. But I found all you got to do is just kind of get them lined up based on the thing on the top. And then you just got to make sure that the one hemisphere tucks into the other. And then boom, it just snaps into place. Easy peasy. These things take less than 10 seconds to put together. The frame takes longer. So I'm just throwing that out there as a public service message because some channels have said these are impossible to put together, but no, they're not. They're incredibly easy. If I'm ever in your neck of the woods and you have a copy of this, invite me to your home and I'll show you how easy they are put together. But all of that aside, what really makes this stand out, honestly, is not how cool this is. What's really interesting is this is a very simple, light, family-friendly gateway roll and write, which it should be, because of the fun factor and the really universally appealing theme. But what happens is every time you set up to play, you can have, the game just suggests only have a few objectives, right? But the rules also say have as many objectives as you want. And if you really want to have one of the crunchiest, heaviest, most challenging roll and writes you ever played, turn on like 5 or 6 objectives that you're trying to do with every single draft of every single place you're going to go around the world, trying to basically fulfill all of these different objectives at the same time, knowing, okay, these two don't work together, but this one does work. And so trying to balance all that really elevates the crunch factor of the game quite a bit. And that's when it really comes alive. And that's what puts it at number 6 of the best games of 2023 Globetrotting. Okay. And now, I'll get this out of the way. Bye-bye. Gonna clean you up later. Where was I? That was number 6. Oh, number 5, already talked about it earlier. Sagrada Artisans. Number 4, Evenfall. Number 3, we have another new one. Oh man, folks. Life of Amazonia is phenomenal. It is the greatest bag building game of all time. And that's saying something. There's a lot of really popular ones. I'm including Orleans when I talk about this. There's all the details. I didn't do a video of it, but Shay did for the channel. So let me go on ahead and see if I can find his video. But you know what the problem with his video is? He had a prototype and the game did actually change quite a bit. So let me just go on ahead and let's see. Are these all pictures of the prototype too? Well, here's the back of the box. That's always a good thing to show. The toy factor of this game is fantastic. One, not for nothing, you've got these really, really cool progress tracks you're working on as you're trying to develop your own stretch of the Amazon rainforest to be the ideal habitat for all kinds of flora and fauna to score lots of points. And it's on 3 different levels with these waterfalls. Didn't have to be. That's just a really cool touch. Also, whenever you've spent the chips that you pull out of the bag, like Orleans, they go into a discard boat, which again is just fun. And when the bag is empty, you just pour them out of the boat back into the bag. Really nice stuff. But then the pieces. Look at those leopards and those macaws and those orangutans. I forget what all the different animals are, but they're really fun looking. And the little quasi 3D trees. Although there was a deluxe edition of the game too, where you don't have to do the cardboard cutout trees, but actual proper tree meeples and whatnot. So the game has incredible production value. One of the best produced games of the year, by far, hands down. But none of that is what makes it cool, or makes it special. What really makes it stand out is, basically, you've got, I think 3 different types of resources: money and water, and different things that allow you to do different stuff. You've got a big mix of them at the beginning of the game, and you reach in, you pull out stuff. Whatever you pull out, that kind of becomes a puzzle of, right, how best to use this combination of resources. This isn't like, most pool building games where, you get some stuff, they let you do some things, sure, but then, you buy something, and it's the stuff you buy that determines what you can do. Here, the actual stuff you have, the combination of water versus food versus whatever I might have gotten versus money determines how I can actually spend those resources in concert. Although if I want to at any given time, I can combine any 2 resources to become a third one. It's wasteful, but you will find yourself doing it a lot in this game, because it really rewards clever uses of stuff. But as you lay out more and more tiles and make a bigger habitat with more trees and more animals and more flora and fauna, the game gets bigger and more complex and more compelling. But the real secret sauce of this game, let me see if they show it in any pictures. They're not really showing it very well. They're mostly just showing off how cool the game is. I mean, look how cool it is. Here's the deluxe stuff with the cool little water lily things and the tree meeples that have stenciled on stuff. Not stickers, but just pre-made stuff. But are you ever going to show anywhere in any picture? Nope, because nobody cares about the cards, even though the cards are everything. All right, I will go to Shay's video then to visually show video. Where are you, Shay? There you are. The Rahdo logo right there. Try to make it about the game, not about me. Anyway, though. So, here's Shay playing solo. Every time you set up, there's always going to be the same set of creatures that you're trying to make the ideal habitat for, but they're always going to be set up with a different group of ways to score. And in this regard, this is very, very familiar. I mean, it's impossible not to draw comparisons between this and Cascadia, which of course won the Spiel des Jahres a few years ago, and deservedly so. For me, this game obliterates Cascadia because it takes all the great things about Cascadia and then ratchets it up to like an 11 in terms of depth and complexity with the bag building as opposed to the simple tile drafting that you do in the original game. Instead of just 4 animals? Or is it 5 animals? I think it's 5 animals in Cascadia. Here you've got, 8 animals. Plus, as part of setup, each player gets their own special unique animal. So you've got 9 different animals that you're trying to make work together with the other ones so that they can score well and have ideal circumstances. I just love the big, deep gameplay here. The really satisfying and compelling tiling and then putting stuff on top of those tiles, depending on how we've expanded. And I won't deny that it's also absolutely gorgeous with an amazing production value. This game is I think it's in my top 30 games of all time now, if I recall correctly. I could be right. I'd have to go back and look, but it's absolutely fantastic. I came to it way late, but I'm really glad I did because it's the third best game of 2023. Okay, then the number 2 best game was my previous number 1 of the year, Earth. And no surprise there. It's everybody's. I mean, heck, it just won the Dice Tower Award last week for Game of the Year. It won the Golden Geek Award for Game of the Year. So many people put it as their best game of the year, and I originally did too. And I talked about why if you go check out the original video, where I did the countdown. But there's a new one. It has been supplanted by a game that is just sitting outside my top 10. I think it's my number 11th highest ranked game in the world. The best game of 2023 is Daybreak. From Matt Leacock and Matteo Manapace. This just won the Kennerspiel, if I recall correctly, and deservedly so, because it's absolutely phenomenal. This is a game about players working together cooperatively to overcome the challenges inherent that our species and our world faces because of climate change. But it is nothing but wall-to-wall optimism and an ode to the power and resiliency of science and cooperation. And I love it for that. I love the story this game tells, not only in terms of its gameplay, but also in terms of one of the coolest things. And mark my words, this could potentially be a big thing you see moving forward in games. Every card in this game has a QR code. So while you're playing, you can scan the cards. And the main reason to do it is to learn more about, let's see, I should bring my video up, shouldn't I? Yes, I should. Here we go. Oh, nope, that's not me. That's somebody else because there's no Rahdo logo there. Is there? No, there's not. There we go. There's the Rahdo Runs Through Daybreak one. Boop. Here we go. So every one of the cards you've got represents a different real-world project that communities, societies can take on. Whether they're technology-based or government-based or culturally based, these are all things that can help address the problems we all face together as a species. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to play them into one of 5 columns, and you either play them to the top of a stack of cards in a column, so that becomes the new project that card can do, or instead you tuck it under existing columns so that they will instead supplement other projects that are in the forefront. And in that way, you start building engines. And then also every round, you can also discard these cards. Instead of using them to build up your engine, you can discard them to represent the resources you need to run your engine. Like, all right, I tucked one under to make that other thing better, or maybe I'm going to replace things. And this constantly amorphizing, changing engine that you're building up but then converting into other engines because different problems come up, it's absolutely, the gameplay is rock solid. But I didn't mention, like right there in the bottom right corner of that card, you can see there's a little QR code. If you'd like, you can scan that and read up. Tell me about net zero buildings, and it'll go to a webpage devoted to this card. It'll tell you what are net zero buildings, how can they happen, how can you lobby your politicians to actually push this agenda, what types of breakthroughs are being made, what can you do in your own local community to make them more of a reality. This game, like I said, inspires us to do more in the real world. But that's not all. The reason I think this is innovative is because you can also scan those QR codes if I don't understand how this power works. And instead of digging it up and trying to figure out, where is it in the rule book, you can scan the QR code, go to the page, and it'll tell you everything you need to know about these cards from a gameplay point of view as well. And that is a fantastic, brilliant, and incredibly innovative way to make games more approachable. Instead of just having to work your way through a Byzantine rule book with a lot of different pages and appendices and still can't find it and having to go on Board Game Geek and ask questions and people aren't sure. No, that you can just scan. And the beautiful thing is, because this is taking you to a web page, if it turns out that the developers realize, oh, you know what, we need to explain this better because we haven't explained this to people how it works, we can update the web pages. So the game can become better and better over time at helping us play the game. This is a really big deal. Now, none of this is what puts this at the number 1 and my number 11 highest ranked game of all time is the gameplay combined with the incredible optimistic and aspirational story it tells. But I got to shout from the rooftops how phenomenal this is as a technological breakthrough for games too. And I hope to see more publishers take this idea on. We are used to thinking, our phone, all we can do with it is look at a PDF that is just a recreation of of a hard copy rulebook. That is not using our phones to the best ability that we can. Phones can take us to web pages which have hyperlinks, which have contextual pop-outs, all that kind of stuff. This is what I want to see. I want to see board games easier for everybody to use. Everybody has a phone in their pocket. If I have a question about the game, I just want to scan the game and say, what is this? And then my phone tells me, instead of me having to put the game on hold for 10 minutes while I try to find it in some dark corner of a rule book. That's amazing. And so I have to doff my cap for that too. But again, that's not what it's the gameplay. And the theme that makes this so great, that makes it the best game of the year by far, and one of the greatest board games of all time as far as I'm concerned. Matt Leacock, Matteo Manipes, publisher CMYK, you're all amazing, and I love it. I love Daybreak. And I think that's it, folks. Although wait, I do have one more thing. I'm going to give you a bonus because you stuck all the way here to the end. I've got 3 more games to talk about, folks, because just like I talked about, when I did this back at Christmas and I had not played all the games, there are still about 50 or so games from 2023 that I would really like to play. I really wish I could. But I just couldn't keep pushing this off. I had to do it. Now, I have spent a lot of time researching all of those games and looking at rule books and watching other people's videos. So, most of them I just want to play because they look like fun. I know they're not going to push into my top 30. But there's 3 that I don't even think might, that I think will, that would actually punch their way into the top 30 that I just did. So, I can't say for sure because I haven't played them, but I'm just going to give them a quick shout out and shake my fist at the publisher. For all of these, I've been trying to get review copies for months so that I could cover them so they could maybe make it onto the list. They didn't, but I'll just mention them right now because I'm just trying to let you know what's the best of 2023, which, by the way, not for nothing, is now the best year in board game history for my tastes. If you go to top.rahdo.com, I've got all the best games of every single year sorted by year, and at the bottom of that page, there is a ranking of every year. 2019 used to be the greatest year in board game history. Now it's 2023. And some of those games I just talked about are why. But there are 3 more that I wish I could have played for you. I wish I could have shown you. What are they? They are Tesseract. Got to bring the back up. Tesseract, which looks like an amazing cooperative, kind of abstractish sort of game, to be fair, where we are trying to dismantle this big stack of colorful dice. It seems so cool. It looks like so much fun. I've watched several videos of it, and I am so jealous that I never got a chance to play it. I'm very confident it would have made it into the top 30. I would say the same thing for Nova Roma, the latest design from Stan Kardonsky. I have to admit, I kind of ignored this one because 25th Century Games, one of the publishers, they're usually really good about sending me review copies of stuff, and they never sent me one of these. So I just kind of assumed, this is Stan doing a game like Rurik, a game with a lot of warfare. It kind of looked like it from the outset. I figured, they probably figured I won't like it. But then just recently, I did a video for Stan's latest game, Minos. Look for this, folks. My video will be going up very soon. It's amazing. Probably going to be in my top 10 of the year. And I mentioned in my final thoughts that, hey, I've played 8 of the 10 games that Stan has done so far. And the only ones I haven't played are Rurik, because I don't want to play it. And Nova Roman, I figured, it's probably more like Rurik. And a few people pointed out to me, no, it's not, Rahdo. You would love this game. Why have you not played it? And then I went and I looked into it, and I'm asking 25th Century Games, or for that matter, Half a Kingdom Games, why have I not played this? Stan, talk to them. I want to cover this game for you. It looks phenomenal. This looks like designer Stan Kardonsky's Trajan. One of Stefan Feld's greatest designs of all time. So maybe this is his greatest. I don't know. I suspect it's going to be phenomenal. I love the action selection mechanism it uses. And I love the 6 different minigames all going on simultaneously. I love that kind of stuff. Plus art from the Miko. I got to give this game a go. But I did not get a chance to. So I'm just mentioning it in passing. And then the other honorable mention goes to Ancient Knowledge. Man, I've talked about this one several times. The publisher Yellow said they were going to send me a copy, and then they never did. And I've just been sitting here waiting. I know an expansion's coming, so I figure I'll just wait for the expansion now. But this looks like a fast-playing little card-driven engine-building civilization game that just seems phenomenal. This made a lot of people's top 10s with good reason. It seems so sharp, and I am so sad I did not get a chance so I could play it for you, so I could tell you folks definitively where it shows up in my top 30 of the year. I suspect it would, but I can neither confirm nor deny, so I'll just mention it in passing. Ancient Knowledge. And that's it, folks. I am Dunsville. I got to take these things apart. See, they're so easy to come together, come apart. But anyway, and get back to work. And that's it. I have made good on my promise. Those are the best of the best from the greatest year of all of board gaming. But if you're not done and you'd like to see a little bit more, boom, there it is right there, folks. You know what to do. Click that big thing and you can watch me talk about 30 more in my original in case you hadn't seen it. Or if you want to hear from the rest of the gang on the channel, there's also the link to the R&R Best of the Year video that we did too, which is one of my favorite videos we have ever done for the channel. So click away, folks, because we are Dunsville. Bye-bye.